And welcome back to RSBN's Live Desk, Senator Tommy Tuberville. Please tell us about your efforts, sir, regarding Hoover, Alabama. The Islamic Academy of Alabama has formally withdrawn rezoning applications in the city of Hoover, and this was something that the city council ended up denying the application. How does this affect your race for governor, and how would you help assist the city to really educate people on what's taking place with some of these centers?
Well, first of all, we have less than 1% of Muslim population in the state of Alabama. And this academy, it cites on its website that it teaches from the Quran. Now, the Quran, if you look at it, teaches to kill all non-Muslims. Those beliefs don't belong in Alabama, and they don't belong in this country. And so we have been speaking out loudly about it. We've got freedom of religion and freedom of speech in this country. If you want to come here legally and peacefully and worship your religion, you got every right to do so. But Islam is not just a religion, it's an ideology. And when you chant death to America and practice Sharia law, we don't want you in Alabama, and we don't want you in the United States of America. We are a Christian, Judeo-Christian country. We have moral values, and those are not our values whatsoever.
And that is something I speak on often with this unholy triumvirate we're facing as a country, from communism to globalism. That secular humanist thought has seemed to ally itself with this Islamism. And it's not necessarily simply the independent practice, as you mentioned, Coach, but the idea that Sharia is the law of the land, therefore incompatible with the United States Constitution. Do you find that because you have taken the stance and really just fought for the truth in this process, any blowback from the hard left, because they seem to want to crucify anyone who actually tries to share the truth?
Oh, yeah. They call me racist and all those things. If that's a racist, call me one, okay? I'm an American. I believe in this country. I believe in God. I believe in religion. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in our Constitution, though. And our Constitution is nowhere close to what the Muslim or Islamic faith is preaching in this academy. And all these academies across the country, they are growing very fast. I keep telling people, you better start speaking up. Don't ride the fence. We have to be very vocal about this, because if you look at Europe, there's probably, 10, 12 countries in Europe that are basically gone. And the only way they're ever going to be able to get their country back is fighting in the streets. It's going to be a war, because they've allowed these Muslims to come in. They don't go by the laws. They don't pay the taxes. They've been voted in by their groups in all these local elections and even state elections and country elections over there. They have so many Muslim mayors that you can't count them all. And we're starting to do that here. So all I'm telling people is, you're going to get what you expect if you don't speak up. And I've given several speeches on the floor. I'm getting ready to give another one in the next few days here in Washington, D.C., just trying to get people to listen. And again, there's no hate here. It's just, if you come here to hate us, we don't want you here.
And there's nothing wrong with assimilation. We saw that our ancestors coming here legally and doing just that because they wanted to be Americans. But this is playing in real time in the state of Minnesota, specifically in and around Ilhan Omar's district in Minneapolis. And it seems as if Governor Tim Walz and the Attorney General there, Keith Ellison, turned their backs on criminality, and this really the reporters and journalists, it's our jobs to put light onto the darkness and find the truth. But it was those people who work in the SNAP beneficiary assistance programs who actually brought this to the attention of the Democrat administration in Minnesota. How would you prevent that from happening in Alabama as you seek to become its next chief executive?
Well, first of all, this was an entire plan by our Muslim president, Barack Obama. And he put all these people, these Somalians, into Minneapolis. They didn't split them up, send them to different states. He put them all in one area. They immediately became the number one majority voting bloc. And of course, you have nuts like Tim Walz that looks at this situation and says, I'm going to do everything I can to get their vote. And he's turned a blind eye to all the nonsense that they've done through stealing welfare, stealing food SNAP cards, which are food stamps, and stealing everything they possibly can, loading it up and sending it back to Islamic terrorists back in their countries. We've lost our way. And the problem is we've lost our way with a bunch of people that all they want is power, like Tim Walz. They don't want to do the right thing. They don't want to go by the laws. They don't want to do what's right for their entire state. They want to be elected to where they can have control. And thank God this guy wasn't elected vice president of this country, because we would be in a world of hurt.
I think it's an extraordinary thing to see the difference in the quality of the tickets of 2024 from Trump and Vance versus Harris and Walz. But you are actually working this week, and it's kind of a shame that we are in, well, as much as I love the season of Advent leading into Christmas and even Hanukkah celebrations, the news cycle kind of slows down, or people are busy with the hustle and bustle of the season. You are introducing, sir, along with Senator Sheehy, to boost healthcare transparency for veterans, and the health insurance really becoming a big question this week as well. Can you break that down for us with that specific legislation? And will you be able to address anything with Obamacare before the end of the year?
Well, we're working on that as we speak. There's thousands of hours that have gone into the last year of trying to come up with a solution to this nonsense that they call Obamacare. It is unaffordable, and it was a disaster from day one, if we all remember. And it's been a long time ago when they started pushing it out on the website. They spent $10 billion and lost it because they couldn't figure out how to make their website work. And it's gone downhill from there. It's unaffordable. It is universal health care paid for by the government and the taxpayers. That's not what we want. We want everybody to have good, affordable health care, but be able to pay it for whether it's the people you work for, or pay for it for your family. But we have to make it affordable. And what's happened is these insurance companies have just run a complete scam and taken down a lot of things that health-wise that Americans should that pay for, that should get, but they don't get it because the money goes into the insurance companies' pockets. But talking about Senator Sheehy and I on the veterans, the VA is the largest healthcare system in the world. I mean, this thing's huge. And I've been on the VA committee for 5 years. And unfortunately, the VA is more about the employees, this unionized employees, than it is about our veterans. Our veterans need great care. Now, we do have some good VAs in the country, but we have to be more transparent, and we have to understand that it's about the veteran first. It's not about the doctor or the nurse or the people that work in the situation. We want to take care of our veterans. But right now, most of the veterans are getting some kind of decent care, but we have a lot that's really getting cheated out on what they should be getting. So we're trying to make it transparent, for our veterans, so they can understand what they're getting once they go to the VA.
Now, with this legislation, will it just give more options, or does it go a more private route in order to help the veteran? And where is Secretary Collins on this right now? Have you been able to discuss with him in regards to this legislation potentially?
Yeah. Well, this is more about community care, being able to, most veterans live in rural areas. They don't live in the cities around some of these VAs. And we want community care to be given if need at the local hospital for all of our veterans. A lot of them is an emergency, and they can't drive 2 hours to these VA hospitals that are far, far away. And so, yes, we want as much community care as we possibly can. The problem is the Democrats don't want that, because the community care takes the union workers out of it, and they want to take care of their union dues that they collect to get reelected. So it's one thing after another. We're trying to fight for the people that should be fought for, but it's hard to do that when you're having to jump over all the Democrats that are doing things for power other than for the people that they should serve.
Well, when we found that with the one big beautiful bill and really holding the government hostage during that filibuster by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer in regards to funding rural health care and really taking away from the citizens of this country and trying to fund illegal alien operations. But your colleague from Texas, Senator Ted Cruz, when he ran for president way back in 2016, really had a plan, an idea to cross state lines and not necessarily rely on employer-based insurance, and also not rely on government-based insurance, i.e. Obamacare, and even into Medicare and Medicaid. Do you think there could be a day in this country, whether it be through legislation or working with the hospitals, perhaps with President Trump in this second term, to go to a place like Costco or even Sam's Club and say, hey, I want to bundle my health insurance this way for so many years for an affordable price and go to see the doctor I want, get that access, and not jump through these hoops and all these different loops that you get thanks to lobbyists and thanks to special interests?
Yeah, that's a good point. Rand Paul has come up with that idea of using, Walmart, Costco, people that have groups that belong to their so-called business, with buying in with cards and things like that. There needs to be something like that. We need to get more affordable health care out there. But here's the problem. We want to make sure that the health care that people are getting is good health care, is health care that they deserve. The problem with Obamacare, it ran so many doctors out of the business. We have half the number of doctors now that are applying for med school, and we're going to be short on doctors. Same thing with nurses. Nurses have gotten out of it. COVID really put a strain on all the doctors and the nurses, and so we're losing more and more health care because of the nonsense of Obamacare with all the red tape, the paperwork, and the things that these doctors don't get a lot of money out of the things that they should be getting out of from these insurance companies. So we're having a tough time. And the other thing is we have closed so many hospitals across this country because of Obamacare. They're closed down. They couldn't make a profit. All the money is going to people that do all the paperwork and things like that. And it's just unaffordable. And so at the end of the day, this has to be restructured. We have to look at the problems. Right now, we're looking at these subsidies that they're pushing on us as Republicans because they only had it last 4 years because of COVID. It was $50 billion a year. All that was is a jack up of prices, put more money in it. The insurance companies put it in their pocket. It didn't go to the patient or the American citizen. It went to the pockets of the insurance companies. So we have got to cut the fraud out. But we got to get better health care, and we got to get better education back into our schools where we can have more doctors and more nurses.
And President Trump meeting with farmers this week, $12 billion in investments for the American farmer. What are your thoughts from that meeting in the cabinet room just the other day? Because we know that Alabama, home to many American farms and producing some of the best quality products throughout the entire country.
Yeah. Our farmers are in trouble. We lost 150,000 farms during Joe Biden. He tried to put them out of business. Democrats want our food to come from other countries. They can't stand our farmers. They think they ruin the soil. They think that they ruin our climate. It's nonsense. And then, of course, the input costs and President Biden getting into all the war with Ukraine, it made prices really skyrocket in terms of input costs with fertilizer, with the seeds and all those things. And we hadn't regrouped. It's just hard to regroup that after 4 years of total disaster to our farmers. And then you put on top of that, sometimes you have bad weather. You might not have a good crop. Prices are lower. It's been tough on the farmers. So President Trump understands. Last year, he gave him $20 billion. As soon as he got into office to save our farms, we still lost some. We're going to lose some this year. $12 billion, is that enough? Probably not. But again, it's a start. We got to get our farmers to where they can pay off their bills, they pay the bank for their crop loans, and get back in the fields in a couple months and put in another crop. They're in tough shape. We've got to get prices down. President Trump's working on that through these tariffs, but he is a farmer's best friend. I promise you, by looking at Joe Biden, he was the enemy of all farmers. Anything to do with small business in this country, he attacked and almost put us under. So President Trump's been underwater. The farmers have been underwater. It's time to give them a little bit of money, try to get them back in the field, and hopefully we can save as many as we possibly can because they're in harm's way.
Yes, economic security, food security, all at the forefront of the mind of those who provide it for us throughout this great country of ours. And Coach, I have to ask you about, we're done with the conference championships. We're into the bracket, but a lot of controversy from former players, former coaches as well. What say you about the top 12? And do you like any of these new ideas coming out there of taking all the conferences, maybe moving to a 9-game season, only playing in-house instead of the invitations that you get from conference rivalries or even outside of the conferences? You're an expert at this, so I'd love to hear what you think about what's going on with college football.
Good question. Got to remember this. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people involved. This is not affecting just 4 or 5 different people. This affects thousands of people, thousands of jobs. You start messing around with the length of the season and going to more teams in the playoffs, you're going to destroy a lot of natural rivalries that you've had over the years. You got to remember one thing about college sports. The difference in college sports and pro sports is the fans. It's the loyalty of the fans. They come to the games. They pay these enormous prices. They support their teams. The first strike against the fans was this NIL, where players just moving every year, going from one team to another. Heck, you don't know who's on the team from year to year. So basically, you're buying teams. The transfer portal has wrecked college sports. But, I'm all for the players making money, but we need to get to a system and understand that money is not all of it. You talked about cutting back on the number of games. You have to remember this. TV is what runs college athletics because it pays the bills. And you got to have programming. If you don't have that, you're going to lose out on the amount of money that each school is going to get at the end of the year. So, I hope we can get something done on this. I really feel bad a lot of these athletes because most of them transferring 1, 2, 3, 4 times. They're never going to get a degree, and when they get out, they're going to look around. Their money's gone. They had to pay most of it in taxes, and there's no education, and they can't get a job. And we got to understand, too, that that's the job of our education system first. Educate and then play sports.
Yes, that makes so much sense, as we have some bowls now that will be empty, or some even 5 and 7 teams, even Auburn invited, as a result of some of those 6-win teams saying no. I'm going to put a hypothetical into the shoes of, if you were coaching Notre Dame, would you have said no to the Pop-Tart Bowl, for example? Is that a good way to go about things as they seek to maybe make their presence or lack thereof known going into this playoff season?
Yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too, okay? You get in the system, you participate in the system. Any school that turned down a bowl game, they were wrong. And I'll tell you why they're wrong. The bowl games have furnished a lot of money over the years to the universities, to the conferences, and also to charities across this country. It is huge, and it gives the players an opportunity to be around each other in a better environment. It's not as fast-paced and all those things, and it's a learning environment. I can't imagine schools turning down, whether it's Auburn, Notre Dame, any of these schools, turning down a bowl game because you're looking at yourself only. You're not looking at other people. And I look at LSU. Lane Kiffin went to LSU, lost a lot of his coaches, lost probably some players, but he's playing in a bowl game. God bless him for that. I mean, I think that's part of it. And again, it has been a huge part of college sports for years, paid a lot of bills, paid a lot of Olympic sports, women's sports bills. But now everybody's getting a little greedy, saying, we really don't need this. We don't need them anymore. They'll need them one day, and that invitation is not going to be there.
Coach Tommy Tuberville, the senator for the great state of Alabama and gubernatorial candidate. So have a Merry Christmas, sir. Thank you for sharing your insight, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you. God bless. Merry Christmas.